David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, just came out last month in December, is the single most inspiring and motivating book that I have ever read in my life. And in fact, it's been so inspiring to me that I am now reading it for the third time. And it just came out last month. It's January 2019 right now. And I've never, it's pretty rare that I'll even read a book 2 times, let alone 3 times, and let alone within like a 30-day period. I think the only other book that I've read 3 times in my life was How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is still one of my top recommended books. Incredible book, but this book, for some reason, to me, it is just extremely inspiring and motivating, and I just can't get enough of it. I will probably read it like another 5 times by the end of the year. But anyway, so I decided I had to do a video talking about this. This is going to be kind of like a book review, not really going to go by like chapter by chapter or anything like that. Really just kind of talk about the lessons that I learned from David Goggins, his mindset, the book. I've listened to like pretty much all of his podcasts and videos of him out there. Really huge fan of the guy. But anyways, would I recommend this book to everybody? Well, no. Surprisingly. I mean, How to Win Friends and Influence People, yeah, I'll recommend that to everybody. But this book here, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, it's definitely not for everyone. It's a very intense book. So the types of people that I would really recommend it to are those who are really into self-improvement, into self-development. Or, those who've had that, fire in the belly at one point in their life when they were really motivated, really inspired, but have felt that fire in the belly die down. Because, by reading this book, it can help reignite that fire. Give it a new flame that you can use for a kindle to help begin your new journey. Especially if you take action, as reading the book and going through it. But I wouldn't recommend this, if you're the type of person that's, okay with mediocrity, and never really been the driven type, or, you're easily offended and, easily triggered, and cuss words offend you, then I wouldn't recommend it. There's a lot of cussing in this book, which, to me, I kind of like that. It's funny because I don't even really cuss a lot in my life, but the profanity helps me, because I've always had kind of like an ADD type brain, actually helps me to pay attention more. So I actually, really enjoy it. So with that being said, those of you, I know a lot of people are becoming familiar with who David Goggins is. Real quick, briefly on who he is before I talk about the lessons learned and the mindset. David Goggins, incredible human being. He's one of the only people to have completed the Navy SEALs Hell Week 3 times within a 12-month period. And the Navy SEALs Hell Week is so extreme that people actually die going through the training. Someone died during one of his Hell Week training. So it's super. It's not just about physical fitness, but it's about basically breaking you down mentally just to weed out and find the toughest of the toughest human beings. He has also completed over 60 100-mile races, ultra marathons. I think they're ultra marathons, which are basically a 100-mile race. He's completed 60 of those, which is just insane. I think his longest race ever was, I believe, 205 miles. He actually set the Guinness Book of World Record for the most pull-ups in a 24-hour period, which he talks about in the book, and I think it was like 3,200, if I'm not mistaken, for how many pull-ups that it was in a 24-hour period. And it took him multiple attempts to achieve it. He tried to do it, failed, and everything. But definitely recommend, if you've never heard of him, go on YouTube, start listening to some of his podcasts and his talks. I mean, the guy is just like a machine. And a lot of people, think, maybe he's just like this alien, or he's just like this super freak born with special abilities. No, he was actually born with a hole in his heart the size of a quarter, and so his heart actually pumps, his body and heart pumps, and he receives about 50% less oxygen than the average person. And so he wasn't born genetically gifted. In fact, what you learn about in the book, that he was overweight. He had to lose over 100 pounds in order to be able to go through the training to try to become a Navy SEAL. So he was very overweight. He struggled his whole life, was, always struggled in school, had an extremely tough childhood, which you'll learn about in the book, how, he was, beaten by his father, who was just a vicious human being, and had a very tough life. And then he, and the book's inspiring because it ends up talking about how, despite all the odds, he ends up turning his life around, becomes a Navy SEAL, loses the weight, becomes in incredible shape, and goes on to achieve all these incredible victories throughout his life. So some of the main, lessons, I took down a lot of notes while reading the book and everything, highlighting it, it's such an amazing book. So, like I said, I'm not going to go by chapter, or anything like that. Just going to talk about some of the key, the mindsets and the lessons learned. So one of the first great things that I really love that he talks about in the book is that you want to get to the point where when you didn't do what you were supposed to do, that it haunts you. And that if you were okay with the fact that you didn't complete your tasks for the day, then you're not there yet. And I can relate to this because I can remember, I've always been a very committed person in my life to where, if I said I was going to do something, I either did it or died trying. But then I got to a point where I started to achieve some success in my life, and I got comfortable, and my mindset got weaker, and I got okay with not following through on things. I would commit to 30-day challenges, and I wouldn't follow through. It's all right. I'm not going to do it this month. Or I would, set tasks for the day, and I wouldn't follow them through. So you want to get to the point where, if you say you're going to do like 100 push-ups for the day, then you're going to do it no matter what, or else it's going to haunt you and eat away at you. You don't want to be like, I said I was going to do, this workout today, or these 100 push-ups, but, some friends want to go for some drinks, and it's getting late, I'm tired of a long day, so it's all good, I'll do it tomorrow. No, that means you're not there yet. Like, those of you who saw my video, I committed to 1,500 push-ups on my birthday, and it was interesting, I did about 1,000 of them within the first couple hours of the day by, about 9 o'clock. But then the day got progressing. I had business appointments, things that were going on, and it was my birthday, and the day went on. At night I did 2 hours of jiu-jitsu and MMA, and I still had about 250 more push-ups to do. And then also when I got home, I got home about 9 o'clock from jiu-jitsu and MMA training. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do these 250 push-ups. I was tired. It was my birthday. Wanted to go to sleep. And I was like, nope, I got to get these done no matter what. So I just, boom, and I busted out the 250 push-ups because I knew if I didn't do it, then that would haunt me and that would start to eat away at the fabric of who I am. So you want to get to the point where if you commit to something, you follow through with it no matter what. And if you don't do it, it's going to haunt you. You can't be okay with making commitments and then not following through with them. So number two, another great lesson is that you never want to lower your standards just to get people to like you. There's a part in the book where he talks about, he really climbed the ranks throughout the military world, and he got into the special ops, Navy SEALs and everything, and he talked about, he was always kind of like a lone wolf, how his leader had came to him and said, David, you got to get closer to the guys and everything. You're so distant, I think that's gonna hold you back. You need to, come on out with the boys. And, because after they were duty and everything, the other guys, it was kind of like a fraternity type situation, like a brotherhood, that they would all go out to the bars and, and drink and chase after women and things like that, where, and he said that bothered him, that his leader came to him and talked to him like that, but he said, he just decided that, no, I'm not going to lower my standards just to get these guys to like me, because David Goggins is committed to becoming the best version of himself. So when he got done with his duty, he liked to go back to his room and and read on leadership and warfare type books, and constantly educating himself or put in extra physical training to keep his mindset like a Spartan type of a mindset and to continuing to become the best of the best. And he wanted to take every extra second that he had to study and to sharpen his skills. And I think that this can happen to, and this is such a good example, because a lot of people will lower their standards just to get people to like them. You know, they want to become physically fit. They know they shouldn't eat junk food. But, you know, their friends are going out for wings and beer and stuff. So, you know, I want people to like me. I don't want to be, So then they go and they drink and they eat. Or they give in to eating junk food at work. They don't want to make the person feel bad. They brought cookies and donuts into work. So they lower their standards just to get other people to like them. So don't lower your standards just to get people to like you. Another thing that he talks about is winning the importance. Winning, he says, you have to win the mornings. See, time is the number one excuse that people have for why they don't get things done. You know, I hear it all the time. Oh, you know, I would work out, but I just don't have the time. You know, I work 12-hour days, you know, this, that, I got the kids, you know, and excuse after excuse. But guess what? The morning is the one time of the day that we have the most control over, and it's the one time of the day that you can manipulate to be able to create more time for yourself. See, in the evening, you know, in the middle of the day, there's chaos going on. In the evening, your willpower is drained, so you're less likely to follow through on things. But the morning, say, for example, you have to get up at 4 a.m. to go to work, you know, or get the kids ready for school, and you feel like you have no time, you can always wake up a little bit earlier. You can wake up 10 minutes early even, just to get in a 10-minute workout. And you can get a great workout in 10 minutes. You know, I know David Goggins says that he will get up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's done it many times. If that's what it requires to get in his workout for the day, because he never skips a day without his training. And so, win the morning, win the day. That's why I get up early every single day. Every single day. Holidays, I always get up early, because I know that I'm happier by waking up earlier and getting my training in, and you know, I'm more productive, and then I know I'm going to be happier than if I slept in, I skipped, you know, working out, and I'm less productive. When I take the easy path, then I'm not as happy, and so that's why I'm committed to getting up early every single day. And so you gotta own the mornings. Another great lesson that he talks about is the cookie jar. Which is basically kind of like a victory log, which is something I've been wanting to do a video about. But really what the cookie jar method is where you keep track, you write down all the different various victories that you've had throughout your life. You know, maybe you know, you ran a 5K. You know, hey, you know, you write that down. You know, maybe you got an A+, you know, in a really hard class or something like that, or you know, or whatever, you know, the victory. But you keep track of all the different victories, write them down, and that way, you know, when you're at a time in your life when you're kind of mentally, you need some extra fuel, you can go back to that victory log, the cookie jar, to remember all the times, you know, that you accomplished some amazing things, to be able to give you that extra juice, and realizing how powerful you are, in that and that can save you, to give you some extra strength to keep going. Another thing he talks about how is failure is one of the greatest gifts in life. To love failure and to love starting from scratch. Now, a lot of people don't like to hear this, you know, but you know, it's true. You know, failure can be one of the greatest gifts in life. Every time you fail, it is an opportunity to start anew and to start better. Behind every closed door is an opportunity for a new door to open. You know, if you failed in a marriage or a relationship, well, you can see that as an opportunity to become even stronger and improve yourself, so that way in your next relationship you can be even better for your next partner. Or if you failed in business, you can learn the lessons from it, see those lessons as valuable, and then use that in your next business venture to be even better. And so failure is a gift. It's all how you look at it. If you choose to look at failure as the end-all be-all and just let your life spiral down into a miserable existence, then, you know, again, this book probably wouldn't be for you. But, you know, failure, and I like that he says that, failure is one of the greatest gifts. You know, every time I fail, for me personally, you know, I love victory, but failure, I've learned to love that too, because all of a sudden it gets me hungry again. That fire, you know, comes back to life, and I feel alive. So I can relate to a lot of what he says about love failure and to love starting from scratch, which I know is kind of hard to even compute. Another thing is that if you want to change, then to go do something physical. Because only through pain and suffering can you really find yourself. A lot of people, they'll come to me for advice, different things, and I pretty much always tell people the same thing. Hey, you know what? Start doing something physical. Start exercising. Are you exercising? No, I'm not. But how do I, how's it going to help me in my relationship or this or that or whatever? You got to take care of this guy, the body. And the more that you pour excellence into your health and becoming physically fit, the tougher your mindset is going to be, and that excellence will bleed off into every single category and area of your life. So, and that's why he says only through pain and suffering can you find yourself. And what do you mean by that? Is pain and suffering of, pushing yourself beyond the limits of what you thought was possible. Because you're not going to find yourself sitting comfortable on the couch, watching the next spiritual documentary on Gaia, the Gaia channel or something like that. How you really are going to find yourself is by pushing yourself harder than you've ever been, to where, every other thought, you're not thinking about your bills, you're not thinking about your girlfriend problems, you're so just pushed beyond the limit that you're just left alone with the rawest thoughts in your head, and that is when you begin to find yourself. A very deep concept. Another thing is that, like you said, self-talk doesn't work unless you put in the work first. So, you can do affirmations all day until you're blue in the face, but, if you're not putting in the work, then, you're just lying to yourself. So you want to put in the work. Don't just say, yeah, I'm a champion, but you're not even doing anything. So self-talk doesn't work unless you put in the work first. Another great thing he talks about is to be a practitioner, not a theorist. Lots of motivational speakers, are overweight. They're not physically fit at all. And what does that say? Really that means that they're just a theorist. Sure, maybe they've achieved success in the, in the speaking world, and, and they can influence, inspire people with their speeches and things like that. But if they can't even motivate themselves to become physically fit, and to, not saying they got to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, but if they can't even inspire themselves to go to the gym, to exercise, to take care of their health, then how can they be a motivation and motivating other? I'm not going to name any names, but there's a lot of very famous inspirational authors and motivational speakers. You got their 10 steps to success, and and this and that, but probably couldn't even run around the block. Or have never achieved any kind of physical fitness accomplishment. And so that's why now at this point in my life, I have a hard time listening to people like that. I really find the most inspiration from humans that push themselves to the limits and beyond, physically. Because to me, that means that they do have a strong mindset, and that they're not just preaching from theory, that they are actually walking the walk and talking the talk and walking the walk. So be a practitioner, not just a theorist. Everybody's good at giving advice, but very few are actually good at taking action. So another thing is to have the attitude that you have never arrived. Always be improving, never satisfied. That's one of the worst things about achieving success, is that you can get to this place where, I already know everything, and then you start getting comfortable, and you lose that hunger, that fire in you. Remember in the Rocky series, where I think it was like Rocky 2 or 3, where I think it was 3, where he loses the eye of the tiger. And his trainer, Apollo Creed, I believe in that movie, says, in the Rocky 1, you had that eye of the tiger. When you fought me, you had that eye of the tiger, that look in the eye. But with his fame and everything, he had lost that hunger. And so that's why you always want to have the attitude that you have never arrived. Always be improving, never satisfied. Another thing, and so just another cool thing that he talked about was near the end of the book was how he's not about the money. To him, it's all about growth. He doesn't choose careers or decisions based on money. He's chasing the challenge and doing it for human growth. I thought that was really cool that he's like that. Because, like he said, he's not interested in creating when it comes to his training, he's not interested in creating the best body. All of his training is strictly for the mind. So, his exercise and his training is extreme. it's probably not the most conducive to gaining, muscle mass and creating the best body, but that's not it. To him, it's all strictly about mindset. All of his training is extreme because he wants to have an extreme warrior Spartan-like mindset. And he talks about in the book how, he later in life, he ends up, he's specifically searching for careers that are extreme, that are very challenging, and so he ends up deciding to be, like, one of the most hardcore careers he found was, like, being, I think it was like a smoke jumper, firefighter out in Montana. Really grueling, a very hard job, not much money. But he didn't do it for the money. He did it because he knew it was going to be challenging, and he constantly wanted to keep himself sharp and pushing himself. Where he said how a lot of guys in the Navy SEALs, after they would get out, then that would be it. It would just be downhill from there, and they would just kind of bask in their glory days of when they were a SEAL. And then they would talk to him, how do you still stay motivated and this and that. And he said the reason why is because he never stopped. That was just a stepping stone, and that's why right after he got out of the SEAL, he started doing 100-mile races and race after race, and constantly looking for ways to push himself, because he didn't want to start to you're all, like he says in the book, you're always either improving or you're not. You're going down. So if you it may feel like you're just staying plateau, but that means that you're most likely going down. So you're always either getting better or you're getting worse. And that's why it's important to always be looking for ways to push ourselves. And it's important, especially in today's day and age where we're constantly, everything's getting easier and lazier. I mean, I can just talk to my Amazon device thing and tell it to order me something. It'll get shipped to my house in a day. Everything is getting easier and our lifestyles are getting lazier. So we have to force ourselves to get into situations where we're going to push ourselves harder and look for ways to challenge ourselves so that we don't get mentally and physically weak. So with that being said, guys, I highly recommend this book. Incredible book. Not for everyone. I wouldn't recommend this book for everyone, but if you're a driven and an inspired person, you like the self-development, you like pushing yourself, or, like I said before, if you, were very motivated and inspired at one time, but that inspiration kind of died down because, life got the best of you, then I think this book would also be good for you as well, because this book will help reignite that fire inside of you, rekindle that fire and that flame. So, excellent book. And with that being, I've read the book and also the audio version as well. I recommend the audio version. I recommend both because they both are kind of, the book has visuals and things like that, but the audio version is great because it's kind of like a podcast at the same time. Like they'll stop in the middle of the chapters and they, they'll talk about, they'll go into more details about what's going on, where in the actual book it doesn't really, you don't get that. So I do recommend both versions, but, if I had to say one or the other, I would say get the audio version. So with that being said, guys, until next time, have a great day, great week, a great month, a great year. Let's make it a great life. See ya.